Hey, today y'all listen to Superhuman Channel Talk Radio. I'm your host, Todd Smith, aka Mass Avenger. Hey, I just want to share this news with you all tonight. This is night in Chicago, man. I'm just a little tired and exhausted. The time is 8:11 p.m. Out here, in Chicago. But one thing I want to share today, actually tonight, about how Kojima had, finally left Konami. I had did a short, a short brief, news about it. I was excited, so I just had to turn around and do a short brief. But I'm just gonna talk about, him today. I got 10 minutes to do this, and share my thoughts, what I was thinking about, him leaving Konami. This is one of the best, game developers company, that I come up with, in the age of Nintendo, you know, and also with Super Nintendo. My best company that I ever loved so much was Super Nintendo. Let me say it right, Konami and Capcom. I used to look up to these companies so much because, like, Rich, what Review Overtake USA guy said. If I pronounce his channel right, if I'm wrong, correct me, people. Audience out there, that when you bought a Konami game, you bought something, and that's what I got out of Konami. This I feel bad how this company actually fallen because how they operate in business. At this point, it don't look good on these guys. But one thing I love about this whole thing, that Kojima finally, move on. And the good news that I love about this whole thing, that he, I guess he started his own developer, business, company or whatever, and one thing I, found out a little bit about it too, the news feed when they, actually, announce it, still waiting for more info, for, what developer, business that he would be doing. Will he be working for Sony or will he work for Microsoft? So far, he is, Sony so far. And the reason why I want to recap a little bit off of that, because it sounds 100%, truth to it, and even though it maybe be, a rumor or just gossip, but the thing is, I actually see him working for Sony, and here's why. For one, Sony, PS4 is selling big time. Two, he been working with Sony, making games for Sony since, it came out for the PlayStation 1. Then he went to PS2, Metal Gear made Metal Gear for the PS2. Then he turned around for the PS3. He actually turned around and went very deep of creating, the Metal Gear series, on the PS3, and how, even though each company, didn't want to make games for Sony when the PS, 3 wasn't doing well, when it was at that highest price tag, he still stuck to it and kept it as an exclusive. So that's the reason why I say that Kojima, would be, 100% on Sony's side on this one. You know, but the question is, will he have his own developer company? And the question could be, yes, by itself. Just like David Jaffe. David Jaffe, the one who created God of War, when he turned around and branched off away from Sony because he used to work for Sony, studio. And what he did, what David Jaffe did, he created his own company called Eat, Sleep, and Play, if I had, pronounced that well. And but also at the same time, he's still making games for Sony as a first party. So it's a possibility. And plus, he have dedication, than anybody else, that's in Japan. Like Square Onyx. Square Onyx follow the money. Square Onyx only time make good games, like when they were making games for Microsoft when they came out with the Xbox 360, because the Xbox 360 was doing well. So so Square Onyx was actually, was making games for them. With Sony, they tried to throw Sony half baked games, but Sony wasn't going for it, because the PS3 in that era was doing, a little poorly, and they decide to still turn around and give Sony, good titles, you know. But uh, but what's name not like that? I don't want to get his name wrong because I like the guy and I really admire him. Um, Haru Kojima, he's not like that. He turned around and got dedication. He got commitment, versus other companies. I guess Konami, didn't allow him to have his way when he was working for him. Like he used to when the other CEO was over Konami. But at the same time, this man got too much dedication, and I see why he would stick with Sony over Microsoft when he was at that conference, and when with Don I think that was at E3 2013 that they was discussing about Metal Gear, and I think that what it was when Metal Gear one of those Metal Gear games was being released, and Don I think it was 12, E3 2012 or 2013, and then when Don, who was over Microsoft, who used to be over the game department, who almost caused Microsoft to fall. What is that guy name? Y'all know his name. Um, uh, Don Maverick. Yeah, Don Maverick, who almost caused Microsoft to fall with the Xbox One, and Hideo Kojima had a little attitude at him when he said that when Solid Snake was coming to the Xbox 360 at that time, Xbox One, whatever system was out that time, the Xbox One or the Xbox 360, and Hideo Kojima had an attitude like he had an attitude about when they talk about Snake. He stopped using Snake when he started crossing over to that new platform. He just slowed down on doing that, and he left like Snake with Sony, and but at the same time he gave like like the other games like Metal Gear, I think Assistant, whatever it is. I forgot what the Metal Gear game called. Um, but it's like it was a second, remake of Metal Gear. Then they turn around. Everybody know what they are, but at the same time, he always gave the first to Sony every time. I can't remember the titles of them, but he always gave Sony the first, not the last. He always gave Sony the first piece of the pie, and then he turned around and seemed like he get everybody else the leftover. But he didn't try to do that on purpose. But at the same time, he thought about Sony because he lived in Japan. The man don't have nothing, he just think about his company that's out there, and I don't have no complaint with him. He do a wonderful, marvelous job. So I'm very happy that he finally out of Konami and able to be himself and able to create any game. I'm a big fan of his. Man, it's just bringing joy into my heart right now that he finally out and he able to do any game that he please, and he don't got nothing to hold him back, especially dealing with the PS4 architect and etc. So I'm very happy that they finally released him, and I want to. I'm looking forward to seeing this guy at E3. I'm looking forward to it, to see see what happened then. So I'm very excited about E3 2016 because we may see him now, at one of them press conferences. But there you have it. My name is Todd Smith, aka Mass Avenger. You are listening to a personal superhuman channel talk radio. Leave your comments and your thoughts and leave your opinion what you think about the show. Sorry for stumbling on my word. I'm just tired right now. I wanted to do it early, but it's some things that I had to do. I was at work. So hey, leave your comments and your thoughts what you think about it. Thank you all for you supporting and watching me. Peace.